There's a hill in Shaanxi, China that looks ordinary until you remember what's sealed beneath it. Not a single tomb room, but a hidden underground world built for an emperor who refused to end. Outside, an army stands guard. Life-size terracotta soldiers, horses and chariots, lined up like a frozen parade. Each face is different, like a census of a vanished empire, staring forward in absolute silence. But the real mystery is not the army. It's the door behind them, the main chamber, still unopened. And the question that haunts archaeologists is simple. Why can't the 21st century go inside? Because some discoveries don't end with answers. They end with damage you can't undo. To understand that fear, we have to meet the man who designed this fortress for the afterlife, Qin Shi Huang. In 221 BCE, he unified warring states and declared himself the first emperor of a new China. He standardized laws, writing, roads, weights, currency, then turned his obsession towards something else, death. Power gave him everything except time, and time was the one enemy he could not conquer. He ruled through fear and certainty, crushing dissent, burning old ideas, and forcing a single order across the land. That same mindset shaped his burial. Nothing left to chance, nothing left to rivals, not even after death. So he hunted immortality, sending envoys and ships to chase legends of elixirs and distant sages. Imagine the court listening to rumors of islands, miracles, and herbs that could erase aging in a single swallow. But when eternity refused him, he chose a different strategy: build a kingdom that could outlast flesh. The construction of his mausoleum began when he was still a teenager and continued for decades. Think of it as an underground capital: walls, courtyards, workshops, storehouses, and a palace below the earth. Ancient historian Sima Qian described a ceiling of jewels like stars and a floor mapped like the empire. He wrote of rivers and seas recreated with flowing mercury, an image so wild it sounded like propaganda. For centuries, that story lived somewhere between history and myth, because no one had seen the inside. Meanwhile, above ground, dynasties rose and fell, and the mound kept its secrets like a sealed breath. Locals called the place Mount Li's Hidden Wound, a man-made hill that never quite felt natural. Stories persisted about forced labor, workers disappearing into the project, then never returning to tell what they saw. Whether legend or record, the scale was undeniable. This was the burial plan of a state, not a family. Then, in March 1974, a few farmers digging a well hit something hard, ceramic, not stone. They brushed away the soil and found a shard, and with it, a doorway into the impossible. Archaeologists arrived, and the ground opened into vast pits lined with silent ranks of soldiers. Over time, excavations revealed thousands of figures, plus chariots and hundreds of horses. Not dolls, men at attention, infantry, archers, cavalry, generals, arranged like a battle waiting for orders. Stand close, and the details feel unsettling. Hair knots, armor plates, shoe treads, even calm expressions. No two faces match perfectly, as if artists tried to capture individuality on an industrial scale. For a moment, people wondered if the statues were molded around real bodies. They were not. Cracked figures revealed hollow interiors, assembled from standardized parts, then finished by hand. A production line, yes, but also portraiture, crafted to make the dead emperor feel eternally protected. And when the soldiers first met daylight, another secret appeared, and then vanished before anyone could stop it. These warriors were not born gray. They were painted in intense colors, bright and startling. Reds, greens, blues, and a rare synthetic purple, an ancient chemistry achievement hidden underground. But the pigments sat on lacquer that had adapted to a stable, humid microclimate for 2 millennia. Expose that lacquer to dry air and oxygen, and it curls, flakes, and peels in minutes. Conservators watched color lift away like skin, leaving behind a mute clay surface that looked older than it was. Teams rushed to invent emergency techniques, sealing fragments, misting humidity, and stabilizing surfaces before they could breathe. Even with care, much was gone. Proof that excavation is a race against chemistry, not a victory lap. From then on, every decision at the site became slower, colder, and more conservative. Measure first, touch last. And the unopened chamber became the ultimate test of that discipline, because there the stakes multiply. That loss became the site's first lesson. The past can be destroyed by the present just by opening a door. If paint can die that fast, what would happen to silk, wood, paper, or organic offerings in the main chamber? That is the first reason the central tomb remains sealed. Preservation is fragile, and time is ruthless. Archaeology is not only discovery, it is damage control, fought against air, microbes, and impatience. And this tomb is not a single artifact, it is an entire environment that has been stable for 2,000 years. Change the humidity and materials crack. Change the oxygen and decay accelerates. Change the microbes and history dissolves. Yet preservation is only one layer of fear. The second is chemical, and it comes from mercury. Sima Qian's mercury rivers sounded poetic until modern surveys found unusual mercury signals near the mound. Measurements and studies have reported elevated mercury in the soil and air around the central area. It does not prove literal rivers are still flowing, but it suggests a real hazard may exist underground. Mercury vapor is toxic. In high exposure, it can damage nerves, kidneys, and lives. And if a sealed chamber holds pooled mercury, breaking in could release contamination quickly and unpredictably. Even worse, leakage could threaten groundwater and the surrounding landscape, turning curiosity into a long disaster. So the mound may be protected by more than walls. It may be protected by chemistry. Then there is the third layer, mechanical defenses, traps that live in the imagination and the records. Sima Qian wrote of crossbows set to fire automatically at intruders like a weaponized corridor. After 2,000 years, could wood and metal still function? No one can guarantee they cannot. Inside a sealed, stable environment, surprising things can survive. Some bronze blades found nearby remained unusually sharp. Whether or not traps remain active, the risk calculus is brutal. One mistake could kill people and ruin everything. Because the main chamber is not a museum room, it is an unknown system under pressure, darkness, and time. That's why China's approach has often been to excavate the outer pits, learn slowly, and avoid the central seal. Instead of forcing entry, teams build knowledge, material science, microclimate control, and conservation methods that buy time. Modern technology can map what it can without opening it, using ground-penetrating radar and other remote sensing. They read the ground like doctors read a scan, listening for voids, dense walls, and unnatural geometry under meters of soil. Some instruments measure tiny variations in magnetism and gravity, hinting where chambers might be and where they are not. It is a careful kind of curiosity, learning the outline of a secret without breaking the seal that keeps it intact. And still, every scan ends the same way, at the boundary where only an opened door can answer the next question. These scans suggest large subterranean structures beneath the mound, consistent with a palace-like layout. But a map is not entry. A contour is not context. The most important details remain invisible. And beyond science, there is culture. Disturbing a ruler's tomb can be seen as profound disrespect. The mausoleum is tied to national identity, and decisions around it are political as well as scientific. So the door stays shut, because once it opens, you cannot rewind the air that rushes in. Imagine the worst case. A chamber of textiles collapses into dust while cameras capture its first and last breath. That is the nightmare archaeologists live with. The moment of discovery becoming the moment of destruction. Some propose building a giant sealed dome above the site to control humidity and contamination during entry. Others imagine robots, microprobes, and sterile tunneling, touching the past with machines instead of hands. But every method carries risks, and the stakes here are not one artifact.
They are an underground world. Meanwhile, the terracotta army continues to stand watch, teaching the same lesson in silence. History is not just what we find, it is what we manage not to break. And that tension, the hunger to know versus the duty to preserve, is the true curse of this mausoleum. So what might still be inside the sealed chamber beneath the mound? Perhaps the emperor's coffin, perhaps lost texts, perhaps objects that could rewrite how we understand early China. Perhaps brilliant engineering, drainage, stone doors, hidden chambers built to endure longer than any living witness. Or perhaps only the emptiness of a myth, waiting to disappoint anyone brave enough to enter. But even disappointment would be irreversible, because entry changes the environment forever. That is why the greatest treasure here may be the sealed air itself, the preserved moment of the past. Today, millions visit the pits and photograph the soldiers under bright museum lights. Few realize they are looking at the outer gate, not the heart of the story. The heart remains under the mound, dark, sealed, and patient. It has survived dynasties, wars, revolutions, and modern tourism without giving up its final room. One day, technology may allow a cleaner opening. Controlled atmosphere, sterile robotics, perfect documentation. Or it may never happen, because ethics might decide that some doors should stay closed. So here's the question this hill asks the world. What do you value more, truth or preservation? If you had the key today, would you turn it, knowing your curiosity could erase what you came to see? And if you chose not to, could you live with the mystery, letting the first emperor keep his last secret?